Hi, everybody. Looks like we have a decent room of participants. Thank you all for joining. I'm just opening my chat right now. So we're going to have live chat open. So please feel free to chime in anytime. The lovely Sandy Brown is with us as well. She's moderating. So anything that I miss, she'll be able to track, and we have both a Q&A option and a chat option. So anything that you type in through Q&A will just go to Sandy, and then Sandy will read those questions to me so everyone can hear them. On the chat, it's unless you have the option to either chat with all the panelists, and you can see that little blue option to chat with all the panelists, or you can chat with everyone in the room. So either way, I'll see them, hopefully, unless I'm distracted. And then in that case, hopefully Sandy will fill me in. But feel free, we want to make this as interactive as possible. And if you have any questions or thoughts that you want to share, you don't have to wait till the end. Put them in either the Q&A or the chat. Again, Sandy will be checking them and she'll read them. She'll read them out. Actually, so we're gonna get started in a second, but somebody just mentioned my frames. These are actually not AO frames, although they are in the style of AO frames. These are actually state titanium. So this is part of our titanium collection, and thank you for mentioning the frames. All right, so I'm gonna get started. I will do this screen share. Now, please keep in mind that I'm here alone at home without any help from any kind of tech support, so that I would usually have, primarily in the form of my wife Amanda, because she took my son Alan swimming today, to swimming class. So I'll do my best. It's going to be a little bit rocky from time to time because I've got a couple of videos I want to show, but I promise we'll make it through ultimately. So the topic of this conversation is supposed to be conveying your public message. And that's a topic that I think Dibby and a few others helped shape. And they came to me and they said, can you do this presentation about conveying your message to others, which I thought, or conveying your message publicly, which I thought was a great topic, but one that also is very broad. So just to start off, I want to sort of define that topic as it is for this conversation. If you're going to be talking about conveying your public message, we could be talking about your personal public message or your professional public message as an individual, or your public message more broadly for your company or for the company you work for. If you have an optical shop, what is the public message of that optical shop? What is its brand? If you work for a large corporation, what is that message that you're trying to convey? And again, for the sake of this conversation, I think it's much more effective for us to talk about your personal and professional public message. To me, I think there's sort of two ways that we can break that down. And it sort of fits the theme of today's meeting in general. One is the track of leadership. So how do you convey your public message in order to take on more roles of leadership and hopefully devote your time to helping opticianry and the optical industry as a whole? So how do you convey your public message in the form of leadership and to sort of, if you want to attain leadership and get to those positions? And then secondly, how do you convey your public message in order to create visibility and familiarity within this industry and amongst the optical and opticianry community? Those are two very different things. Well, they go hand in hand, but the leadership track is, at least it should be, more altruistic. So any great leadership is going to be led by servitude, I think. So if you want to take on more leadership, it's hopefully because you want to contribute more. In terms of visibility in the industry, I think I don't mean this in a bad way, but it can be a much more selfish endeavor. Visibility is so valuable particularly in our industry, if you want to progress in your career. And I think without visibility, without getting to know the people in your industry and making sure that you're familiar to them, you leave a lot of opportunity on the table, and you potentially leave yourself vulnerable as things inevitably change in our professional world. So that's generally what I hope we get to discuss today. I'm going to break that into two basic components. Again, ways that you can convey your public message. One is through networking. So this is, again, how you this can help in the leadership track, but networking is really all about gaining visibility, creating relationships in our industry, taking advantage of opportunities that will inevitably be out there as time goes on, but also, again, shoring up and securing your network so that if things change, you have other opportunities on the horizon. And the second is public speaking. So I will devote a significant portion of this course or this discussion to specifically public speaking, how to prepare a presentation or maybe a course, and then how to execute it as well. So let's start with one of my favorite topics, networking. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed that many times when we get together for different meetings, whether it be at Vision Expos or at state associations, and certainly at this National Association for the Opticians Association of America, if those meetings are at night, they often include alcohol. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but I will say that if you are the least bit shy, if you find it hard to go out and meet people, which I do, by the way. My wife, Amanda, is a classic extrovert. She loves to go out and meet people. She gains energy from that. It's fun for her to go to a room of people she's never met before and meet those people. I consider that to be very hard work. And some of you may feel that way as well. And maybe it keeps you from engaging in what we'll call for the moment networking. I will just say this about the cocktail hours. It is much easier to meet people during cocktail hours than it is at a library. I have found that to be my personal experience. But I want to emphasize, with alcohol or none, that networking is something that can be done by anyone. And by the way, if you think that networking is not something that's important to you, I want you to consider this statement. I put it in quotes, but I'm not actually quoting anybody. It's my own thought. Where you are today is not where you might be tomorrow. I think we as professionals, especially ones who take our careers very seriously, sometimes we focus very much on today and we assume that things are never going to change. Maybe we even have so much pride in our jobs and the way we do our jobs today that we assume that we'll never want to change anything about our careers, or that nothing is ever going to change those careers. But I can tell you, and I'm not an old man, but I can tell you that there are very few careers that go straight without some kind of crisis, without some kind of change. Often that change happens from you. You decide that you want to do something else in your career. And here in the optical industry and in opticianry, you should know, as you probably do, that opticianry is not just dispensing frames. It's not just fitting contact lenses. Being an optician and having the skills to be an optician can lead to many, many other avenues within our industry. Obviously, you can be, you can work for a vendor, you can work in a private practice, you can work in a corporate environment, you can work in a lab, you can be a dispenser, you can be a practice manager, you can own your own shop, or you can maybe work in an optometry office. There are so many different avenues. No matter where you are in your career, no matter what path you've chosen today, please keep in mind that that path may change somewhere down the line. It may change because you decide to change. Even if you're an optical shop owner and you've had that shop for 40 years and you know that nothing's ever going to change, you may want to sell your shop someday. And if you do, having a network of people within your community is going to become very valuable to you. Maybe you'll never sell your shop. Maybe your competitor down the street will sell his shop or her shop And all of a sudden, the best optician who works at that shop is available, and you want to hire them, but you don't know that person. But if you had been networking, if you had gotten to know the people in your region and your neighborhood, you would have made that connection. The value of getting to know people in your community and your industry is so incredibly high, because things change. And if you don't ever change anything in your career, I promise you, other things around you will change. Nothing is guaranteed. There is no guarantee that even if you say for the next 50 years, I know exactly what I want to do, there is no guarantee you're going to be able to do that. So it's so important to have a safety net of people, of community around you that you can call on when either you decide it's time to make a change or it's been decided for you that you need to make a change. It's a very vulnerable position, and I can tell you from personal experience, because I've been there before. It's a very vulnerable position when things change around you and there's a crisis and you have not put in the work to develop that safety net and that network. It's a scary thing. Crisis, as we've all learned in the last year, is scary regardless. It's going to happen to all of us at some point. You are so much better prepared for it if you have a strong network of relationships in your community. So please keep in mind that what you do today is not always what you might do tomorrow. And also, let's agree that I hate this word networking. You probably do too. The word networking is a very inauthentic notion, suggesting that you're going to go out and you're going to meet people, and the whole time you're going to have some kind of alternate motivation that you're just trying to move up in your career. That is not what I'm talking about at all. The relationships that I've been lucky enough to make in this industry are incredibly enriching and fruitful on a number of levels. Those people, the people that I consider to be my contacts here in this industry, almost all of them are true friends, people that I really enjoy talking to and getting to know and helping when I can. So let's eliminate this word networking for a second, and let's use the phrase showing up, because I want to make this as simple as possible. My real message to you, if you take one thing from this presentation, is that showing up is a magical, magical thing. Woody Allen said showing up is 80% of life, and I couldn't agree more, especially in this context. We live in a very virtual world today, especially within the last year. You have now ample opportunity, a plethora of opportunities to meet virtually and get continuing education virtually. Please let me suggest that when given the opportunity, if you can, meet in person, get together, go to the Vision Expos if you can go to the Vision Expos when they're back. Go to SECO if you're in that region or you can make it there. I am confident and very excited that next year, this Opticians Association of America meeting will take place in person, probably someplace cool. And I mean cool, like cool to go to, not cool weather. It's always nice weather, and it's always a cool place to go to. If you can afford to, and if you can find the time, I really recommend you go to those. And when you're getting your education in your state, attend those meetings in person. I know even before the pandemic, there were ample opportunities to get your attendance or get your continuing education virtually. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand we all live busy lives, but I cannot overemphasize how important I think it is for your state and for those associations themselves, because they very much benefit from having you there personally, and also how much you can gain by being in these places in person. Because again, you're not just getting the education that comes from that course or those courses. In an ideal circumstance, you should be able to meet and get to know other people who do the same things you do. And you can talk about solutions to mutual problems that you have, and you can share stories, and you can get to know people. There's business opportunity there, but there's also lifestyle enriching opportunities to get to know other people who do the same thing that you do. So please, if you can, I highly recommend that you attend those CEs in person. Another thing, now real quick, I want to take a quick step back. you'll notice that a lot of the slides that I show are from major motion pictures or from television shows. So we're going to play a little game. And Sandy, can you jump in for a second? Can we hear from you for a second? Can you talk?
Yep, I'm here, Scott.
Hi, Sandy. Okay, cool. So Sandy is going to be monitoring the chat room because Sandy, I can't see the chat at all right now. All I see is my shared screen.
Yeah, I got it. I got the chat.
Okay, so just keep in mind if there's something important on that chat, please let me know. You don't have to read everyone who says hello, but hello, everybody. But if there's something important, please read it to me because I can't see the chat at all. So here's what we're going to do.
Actually, Scott, Tara, is it Trajek? I think I may have mutilated her last name. She just identified the slide as Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. So we're already playing this game. Now, unfortunately, this one doesn't count because I didn't announce the game yet. But every time I show a slide that has a major motion picture or a television show, get on your chat and type as fast as you can the name of that TV show or movie. And the first person who names it correctly will get a $20 gift card from Target. And then Sandy, if it's okay with you, you jump in. I'll ask you, and then you let us know who the winner is for each slide. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. So yes, thank you, Tara. You're absolutely right. Unfortunately, you don't win a gift card this time, but that is Sloan Peterson, Ferris Bueller's girlfriend, being very bored. Of course, this is nothing like a CE class that any of us would go to or teach, but you know, that's what high school was like in the North Shore of Chicago back in the 80s. And I know that. Oh, and by the way, my apologies immediately if you're not born in the 70s or 80s. That's going to make this game a lot harder because all of my references are for Gen Xers. So, you know, they're still famous, so you'll probably still have a chance. So again, when we talk about attending CE in person, please go, and when you go, try to talk to as many people as you possibly can. It's not at all, you know, I've been to a lot of these environments. It's not at all difficult to find those who are on the board, or certainly the person who runs that state organization. Try to seek them out, and when convenient, talk to them. And if you don't know what to say to them, or you're in any way intimidated by going up and talking to them, I got 6 magic words for you that always work. What can I do to help? Volunteerism, I mean, all of these positions that we're talking about, if we're talking about leadership in the opticianry industry, it's all volunteer work. So, you know, I mentioned that I think that leadership, especially in this case, is a practice in altruism, and I very much mean that. And I would say even outside of opticianry, all great leaders are truly servants. Great leadership is servitude. And so the best way to get started on a track to leadership is with these 6 magic words. What can I do to help? And how can I volunteer my time to help out with a state organization? I promise you, you will be welcomed. Your state officials or the state president or whomever you're talking to will be very excited to hear from you. There is plenty that needs to be done. Now, of course, 6 words only get you in the door. After you say those 6 words, you also have to be willing to devote the time to do it. When you say, what can I do to help? And then the person you're talking to gives you a laundry list of things to do, you do have to be prepared to do them. But, you know, our industry is so accessible for so many reasons. First of all, we have state associations, which are relatively small. If you go to most state association meetings, you're talking about, I don't know, somewhere around 100 people, sometimes less. So it's a small group of people that you can get to know rather quickly. I know this is a broad statement, but I'll also tell you from my experience, and it's probably been this experience of many of yours as well, that the people in opticianry, in our industry as a whole, but particularly the opticians, are a very warm, kind, and welcoming people. There is not a great deal of harsh competition. People want to bring you in to the fold. And so those things combined to, and then also there are a lot of needs and not enough volunteers for all the needs that are out there. So all of that creates a circumstance and an environment where there is plenty of opportunity if you want to lead, or if you want to make yourself more familiar to your community at large, because, and both of those things do go hand in hand. By taking on volunteerism, by taking on responsibilities and becoming a leader, you also are naturally going to make yourself more visible to the community as a whole. Now, I am strongly encouraging that you go to places and show up in person, but another way, obviously, to communicate with the industry and with your peers is to do so on social media. Now, I know social media isn't for everyone, but I can tell you, because it's been, again, my personal experience, with a great deal of confidence, that the opticianry industry, and opticians particularly, as a generalization, live on Facebook. There is so much chatter, so much opportunity to discuss opticianry on Facebook, that if you're not using that platform to gain information, I think you're missing a huge opportunity. And if you're not using that platform to at least contribute in small ways, and that part is very easy. There are plenty of conversations that are going on social media, and particularly on Facebook, about opticianry that you absolutely have something to say about. You don't have to do it in person. You can just sit in your, at your home and type. But I very strongly suggest that you get on some of these platforms and contribute to those conversations. And by the way, if you don't believe me that there are a ton of opticians on Facebook, here are just some, not all, some of the platforms that are designated specifically to people, mostly opticians, but generally people in the optical industry, mostly here in the United States, where you can get on. I would please, it doesn't cost you anything, and you do not have to be seen by anyone to at least sign up to join each one of these platforms, or each one of these groups. I know it's a very uncool thing right now. Like, very rarely are you going to hear people tell you, yes, spend more time on social media. But this is, it's such a great opportunity for you to network and talk to and communicate with other people in the industry. And again, by being very active, you become very familiar to the other people that are on there. I can tell you, in our organization, I have hired people that I have seen because they were very active on social media. I'm not saying that, with all due respect to those people, I'm not saying they were better, but I found them and they were noticeable because they were on social media and because they were participating actively on these particular groups. Now, by the way, that last one, state groups, what I mean by that is many state opticianry associations have their own Facebook pages, and some of them even have Facebook groups. So you should definitely be joining your state association, and others too, if you really have the time. Now,
hey, Scott, somebody asked, what about Instagram?
Yeah, so great question. I have found that when it comes to business conversations, most of those business conversations are happening on Facebook. I have an Instagram account. All of the brands at my company, they all have Instagram pages. So we're very active at Instagram. I think naturally, due to the nature of the platform, Instagram is much more fashion based. So if you're looking for, what's happening in eyewear fashion, which is probably interesting to most of you, then Instagram is definitely the place to go for that. But if you're talking about engagement and really talking about how to run a practice, or how to fit contact lenses, then Facebook is generally the place that I've seen the best conversations happening. And by the way, well, so let's talk about different ways that you can begin conversations, because it's one thing to comment on things in social media. It's another thing to start up topics. I would imagine that all of you have unique experiences that you have every day at your place of work. Talk about those. Talk about what makes your shop or your practice unique. They have a thing on social media called humble bragging. Humble bragging is when you're like clearly bragging, but you're pretending not to. People usually see through that, so I wouldn't recommend it. But it's not so bad if you have a business or you work at a business that you're proud of, to talk about the accomplishments in that business. You don't have to be bragging about yourself, but you can brag about your business. I think most people understand that and respect it. So if something's good happening in your shop or your practice, talk about it. If something bad is happening, talk about it. I really think, another thing to go back to, whether it's on social media or in person, I think some people sometimes, especially business owners, will sometimes put up a wall when it comes to communicating with other people in their community, in their industry, because they feel like maybe those people are competitors. And I recognize, like, if you go to a state meeting in Orlando, for instance, and your shop is in Orlando, you're going to be talking to a lot of other people who are within driving distance of your shop. I would say those people should still be your friends, maybe even more so. They say keep your enemies closer, but I have found that by developing personal relationships with my quote unquote competitors, I don't look at them that way. I look at them as peers. It makes that quote unquote competition much more personal. And you find that people treat you better as a business when they know that there's a real person that's running it. And so again, I would do my best to communicate with people both in person and on social media. Okay, we have our first major motion picture slide. So I'll wait for a second. Sandy, you jump in with the first person who wins.
All right, it's Jonna Dukes, A League of Your Own.
Jonna Dukes, good job. Yes, this is Lori Petty from A League of Your Own. Great movie. Okay, so nice job, Jonna. Congratulations. So I'm just adding this really quickly as sort of a tack onto the social media, because as you're coming up with ideas to talk about on social media, many of those ideas, if they're good ones, are also ones that I would recommend you pitch to your local media outlets. If you have a business, especially in a small town, especially if it's an independent business, and you either work for an independent business or you own an independent business in a small town. And when I say small town, I mean anything that's not, a top 50 market. I would highly suggest that you're communicating with local television and local newspapers as much as you possibly can. When you have something of value to post on social media, also pitch that to local television and news. The local television and news market today is made up of, no disrespect to them, but they're made up of a lot of people who are working very hard to do a lot of jobs, and it's not like the journalism that used to exist 30 years ago. They're desperate to have local stories to cover. And you should be their go-to when it comes to local business stories. So if, again, all the things I just mentioned that you might want to share on social media, you should be sharing to the local media as well. Maybe somebody came into your practice or office and did something really amazing for someone else in your practice. Maybe you did something amazing for them. Maybe they did something amazing for you. Maybe there's something that's newsworthy that's happening in your community, a hurricane, a virus, a tornado, an economic crisis, maybe an oil refinery just shut down and lost 1,000 jobs. Whatever is relevant in your news cycle in your community, find a way to tie that into your practice or your shop. Talk about how it's affecting your business. Most obviously, my business is down because 1,000 people no longer have jobs. Maybe my business is up because even though there's something terrible that happened, there was a tornado, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head, so forgive me, but there's all this pent up demand. Everyone lost their glasses. So I'm so busy, I can barely, service all the patients that are coming in. Find some way to angle those stories because that's what those writers and those journalists are wanting to cover. And then make it about your business. If you have a trunk show at your business, I would never have a trunk show without tying it to a local charity. First of all, it's great to be able to raise money for a local charity, but you don't have to donate a lot of money in order to make that a part of your business. And now all of a sudden, that event that you're throwing, that trunk show, is not just a trunk show, it's a charity event, which is much more likely to be covered by local media. So when I say pitch yourself, just keep in mind, always be thinking about ways that you can be communicating with local media. Even, don't get me wrong, it can be frustrating because, and we do this in our company all the time, we're contacting our media connections all the time when we think we have newsworthy things. And we get coverage honestly, 1 out of 20, 1 out of 50 times. But what happens is they know that we're around. And when there's a story that has anything, this literally just happened today. I wish I had the newspaper to show you. Actually, I do. Hold on.
Oh, hey, Scott, while you're looking for that, I just want to throw up a flag on the play here. I jumped the gun a little bit. So Donna Schaub actually beat Jonna Dukes out by a fraction of a second.
I'm so sorry, Jonna. There's too many Donnas and Jonnas in the story, but congratulations, Donna. I'm sorry, Jonna. There will be more opportunities to come, but thank you very much for clarifying.
And
okay.
15 minutes remaining. Just want to let you know.
Thank you for letting me know. So check this out, guys. I know this is not very professional. This is the newspaper from this morning's Chicago Tribune. That's Wade at the very top, who works in our factory, and that's your boy right there. Let me tell you how that happened. We didn't pitch that story. We've been pitching this writer, Lauren, at Chicago Tribune for years. She barely ever covers us, but Governor Pritzker here in Illinois just introduced a new proposal to change taxes on manufacturing. And who do you think they called? We were happy to be included in the story. The story is about taxes. It's about Governor Pritzker. It's got nothing to do with us, but we got this amazing coverage in the Chicago Tribune. And it's not because we're the biggest, right? There are much bigger manufacturing companies that they could have contacted to ask them the question about that. But we're in their we're in their sites. So and again, the smaller the town you live in, the easier it is to access that type of coverage. A lot of people talk about branding yourself or branding your business. That can be very difficult. I assume it's difficult for any company, especially if you have an optical shop or an optical practice. My suggestion to you is, if you have an independent shop, your brand, other than the brands that you carry, because you can be very eclectic and maybe you have rare things that are from overseas, but your brand should always be, you're the most local. You're the localist of everyone in town. Yes, there are other local businesses, other local optometry offices, other local opticianry shops, but I'm the most local. And by the way you become most local is by being the most, again, visible, be out there, join the Chamber of Commerce, maybe get involved, again, if it's a small town, maybe get involved in some kind of local politics, join boards, but always be the person who represents your business. And that is how you become the most local. Join charity organizations, local charity organizations too. Okay. I'm sort of double dipping on this one. Sandy, do we have a winner yet on this one?
Yes, we do. And it looks like it's Tara again.
Tara. All right. These are obviously the people with the fastest fingers. Congratulations, Tara. You get a $20 gift card to Target, and we'll be sending you that. Give us a little time, but in the next week or so. So not only can you attend CE courses, but you should also be developing them and executing them. This is, if you are somebody who's a little bit shy and you find networking difficult, which again, I can relate to, it makes it so much easier if you are the person who just gave a presentation. People will, in some cases, even come up and talk to you. It's amazing. It makes it so much easier to break the ice. You can walk up to somebody much more confidently because you know that they know you, they recognize you. You're not a stranger to them. So developing CE can be very fruitful for a lot of reasons. Some people get paid to give CE courses, so there is that opportunity. But even if you're not going to be paid, it's very enriching to be able to share your knowledge with others. And again, it's a great way to become visible and become familiar to people in your community. So that leads me to public speaking, because I think developing a CE course is obviously something that a very small percentage of opticians ever ultimately do. You go to any meeting, you have 4 or 5 speakers and you have 100 attendees. But I want to make sure that everybody understands, at least in my perspective, there is no one on this call right now who cannot give a good continuing education class, who cannot come up with a good class and cannot execute a great class. I would say that you have to be at least a professional optician to do so, but I have a CE class and I'm not even a professional optician. So literally anyone on this call can do it. I'm not saying it's easy. And I know that public speaking is something that a lot of people are very scared of, but it is the type of thing that if you can overcome it, it is an incredible personal growth opportunity. And there are a lot of benefits to actually making it happen. All right, so we don't have time to show this, unfortunately. Oh man, I want to show it so badly. All right, let's just play it because it's too funny. I like it.
This is the round of competition that ultimately determines their fate, the make it or break it moment. The ladies will have to demonstrate their ability to answer a thought-provoking final question. Sound simple? Easier said than done, especially when the whole country is watching. Here's how it works. Our panel of judges have prepared their own questions. So now, we will ask each finalist to pick the name of the judge, who will then ask a final question. Ladies, you'll have 30 seconds before you hear the sound of this bell. Good luck. We begin with South Carolina. Hello, South Carolina, please pick out the name of the judge. Thank you. Judge number 5, Amy Teagarden.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
How great is Mario Lopez's face? Oh my God, I laugh. I don't even laugh at the answer to the question, but Mario Lopez's face is too much. I can't get through it. Listen, once you watch something like that, I understand why you might be very afraid of public speaking. But first of all, to be fair, I think it's, and I'm participating to the problem, but it's unfortunate that that nice young lady got so much negative feedback. It's a dumb question. It's not a fair question. I don't know any 18-year-old that could answer that question well if they're not specifically focused on education. It's a difficult, dumb question. The reason I show it to you is because developing a CE course for opticianry is nothing like what that poor girl just had to go through. First of all, nobody's going to ever ask you a question that you're totally unprepared to answer, because all of the questions will be about opticianry and most of them will be about the presentation you just had. Secondly, the public speaking for a CE course is like the most, you can't fail. It's riskless. I used to do stand-up comedy. I know that sounds like the setup for a joke, but it's not. I really did used to do stand-up comedy as part of my career. And when you do stand-up comedy, there are so many opportunities to fail. If you make people laugh, you win. If you don't, you lose. And they will at times boo you off the stage, or they'll cut your microphone. They'll do horrible things to you if you don't succeed in making people have that physical reaction of laughter. When you give a 45-minute CE course, I don't care how badly you screw it up. You can actually be just as bad as Miss South Carolina just was. And even if you do that, guess what happens? Everybody still gets their CE credits. You can't lose. They may not ask you to come back again, but nonetheless, nobody feels like they wasted their time completely, and nobody is going to be angry with you. Again, it's generally a very warm and welcoming audience to begin with, but especially considering the fact that people have to be there. And they're going to get their credit anyway. It's a very comfortable place to get started public speaking. So I highly recommend it.
Hey, Scott, 5-minute warning.
Okay. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. For some reason. Okay. All right, next movie.
your slides have come down.
Oh, man. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. How about now?
Nope. We just see you.
I must have stopped screen sharing. Hold on.
I think you did.
Okay.
There we go. Looks like Donna Schaub again, Back to the Future.
All right, Donna, great job. Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future. So again, I'll go through quickly sort of the process of coming up with a course or public speaking. First thing you have to do is come up with a topic. This is the most difficult part of the process, coming up with a topic, but it's also the point of the process where it's easiest to quit. So if you have any interest in putting together a CE course or any kind of presentation, please don't let this stop you. I would go through the same process that I did in order to come up with things to share on social media. Come up with things that you experience, think about things that you experience on an everyday basis in your professional life. Here's a really good starting point. What have you learned that has changed your career or that you use every day? What have you learned in the last year, 5 years, 10 years that has stood out that really makes you better at your job? Ideally, that would be something that you've learned through experience, but it can be something that you learned in a class, something that you actually put into practice. Use that as your starting point to come up with a topic. I'll just keep talking, and Sandy, you tell me who the winner is, okay? The other thing that can help you come up with a topic is writing. Usually people would assume that first you come up with a topic and then you start writing. But the practice of writing, that not typing, actually taking pen to paper and writing things out is an incredibly valuable practice. I do it every single day, even if I don't have anything to write. Just get my thoughts on paper. But even before you have a topic, it can be very valuable to just start writing. It's amazing what happens when you start putting pen to paper, the stuff that's in your mind that you never knew was there. It just starts to dump out. And the more you write, the more access you're going to have to those things in your brain. It's basically like personal brainstorming. Who do we get for the winner, Sandy?
All right, so Tara chimed in again as the winner for The Shining, and then Aaron Haas was second. And also I want to say that Donna is giving up her winnings to the second person for Back to the Future, and that would be Chris Allen.
Oh my gosh, we are I told you, we're such a charitable people in the opticianry community. Thank you very much, Donna. That's very kind. And congratulations to everyone who's winning these contests. So again, I can't overemphasize enough. Please spend time writing. It can be a magical experience. It does take discipline. It's hard to get started, but once you start going, you can uncover amazing things about yourself simply by writing them out. The next thing you want to do is come up with an outline. And that's just taking your writing, everything you've written so far, and putting it in some kind of chronological order that makes sense. You want to make sure that your presentation has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But don't get hung up on doing things in this chronological order. When I'm coming up with a presentation, these things get jumbled all the time. I come up with a topic, I start writing, I change my topic. I go to an outline, I start writing again. One thing that you should definitely keep in mind is that nothing is your final draft. Never think that you're writing your final draft. And if you know that what you're writing is going to change eventually, it gives you the freedom to really brainstorm and really let all your thoughts get out on paper. So outlining is important because ultimately you'll need that as your blueprint for your presentation, but it's not set in stone. All right, who won this one? A new generation of pop culture reference here at Sandy.
All right, hang on. Lots of people. Angela Hawk with The Office.
See, all right. Oh no, I'm sorry, this is not The Office. Sandy, I should have, you can't do this if you don't know who this is and what this is. I set you up for failure, Sandy.
You did.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So the next one is Office Space. That's not correct either.
Nope. The answer is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
And that would be Jody McInnes.
Okay. Good job, Jody. Congratulations. See, that was a tough one. We got a lot of wrong answers. Sandy, how much time do we have?
We are out of time.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, my last message is that you should always make sure you have enough time to get through your whole presentation. Make sure you don't need to use notes. You can use slides instead, and definitely practice, practice, practice. You can't get to know your presentation well enough. There's no such thing as over preparing. Prepare as much as possible. And one last thing, don't put a bunch of words on a slide. Try to use images. Thank you guys. I'm sorry I ran out of time, but it was really fun. We'll get those gift cards out to everybody and enjoy the rest of the day.